I have this bratty stepson. He keeps comparing me to his biological dad, and he can't comprehend in his brain that his biological dad is a jerk. He's a deadbeat, good for nothing, doesn't even pay his own child support. So I'm going to expose who he actually is to his jerk of a son, my stepson, and here it is. I don't know what to do. I've tried to be nice, and I've also tried to be firm with the boy, but he'll never not even be decent. I mean, if he's not ignoring me, then he'll have an outburst that will affect everyone. My wife has tried to get him to behave, but he's also mean to her. I feel bad, because she's so apologetic, and it's not even her fault, and I just fear that our marriage is going to suffer because of that boy. He's never accepted me or even respected me. Let me give you a bit of context first. So I got married to my wife 2 years ago. We had known each other for a year and dated for a couple of months before we got married. I knew that she was divorced and had a 12-year-old son who was now 15. She introduced me to her son when we got engaged, and from the first meeting, I could tell that he didn't like me. Yeah, that was to be expected. I was a new man in his mom's life, and he did not want her to get hurt. Well, I tried to get along with him by engaging in conversation, buying tickets, to go and watch his favorite sports teams, and even helping him with school projects, but he treated me like I was temporary. I was very serious about Belinda, and wanted to marry her. At 34, I've never been married, but I've been engaged in the past, and it simply did not work out. So I took a number of years off so that I could work on myself, and then I met Belinda, fell in love with her, and decided to marry her. It was a simple choice, and she was beautiful not only on the inside but also on the outside. She had very similar values to me, and she was soft-spoken. She worked hard, valued family, and still wanted to have kids. Those were enough reasons for me to marry her. Her son was against the wedding from the very start, and I heard him talk to her and say that she was downgrading compared to Dad. What I knew about his dad was that he was well off and living on the other side of town. He was a successful investment broker who barely made time for his own son. All he cared about were his new girlfriend and work, and that was the reason why Belinda left him. He never had time for them, and he thought money was a good substitution for love. Pete grew up spoiled by his dad, and he had everything that he wanted. His dad just threw money at him, and Pete saw that as love. Pete has not seen his dad properly for ages, but he idolizes the man. Pete's dad shows up when he pleases, promises him things, and then just leaves. He's never around for the bad times, and thus he does not hate him. Instead, he resents me and his mom because we have put boundaries in place about what he can and cannot get. His mom has a good-paying job, and so do I. While we make more than the average person and can live above an average life, we chose to live a very modest style. We prefer to save and not spend money on things that we don't need. Instead, our main priority is the future, and Pete does not understand that and has said that ever since I came into their lives, they've become broken. It's heartbreaking to me when he says things like that, and I'm just trying my hardest to build a relationship with him even though he calls me a loser. His mom is often very sorry about this, and she tries to discipline him, but nothing seems to work. Even if she takes away his things, he does not apologize to me for the things that he's done. Every day when I enter the house, I feel dreadful because I do not know what mood he's going to be in and what he's going to do. If you ask me, he's completely out of control. He's always on social media and does not want to do homework, and is just out till any hour of the day that he wants to be. And he needs no warnings. We tried to ground him, confiscate his things, talk to him, and even threaten him with boarding school, but he doesn't seem to care. He says that he does not want to stay in the same room as me, and he would prefer it if he stayed with his rich father. He says that Dad is cool and lets him do anything, and he calls his mom and me useless, and I must say, it's getting to me. I mean, come on, I've started to dread going home because of him, and I'm afraid that I'll open my mouth and tell him that his dad does not even want him. His dad does not even show up for court-mandated visits. It's always late for child support, and doesn't even remember his birthday. Well, my wife, we've always had to be the ones to reach out to him and beg him to show up for his son. Every time. He says he's a busybody and that we should handle it. He treats his son just like a chore, and if it were not for the fact that he had mandatory visits, he would not even see him. He even tried to sue so that he would not have to pay child support or have anything to do with him. We kept that from Pete because we didn't want to break his little heart. Even though he's young and angsty, he's still a child and still developing. His emotions are not as strong as those of an adult, and something like this can mess him up. He might not believe it, but I see him as a son. I just want what's best for him, and when I married his mom, he instantly became my family and my responsibility. I told myself that I was not going to give up on him. Lately, it's just become hard. I've started to come home late just to avoid seeing him at the dinner table, and my wife has noticed and has asked me what's going on. Well, I don't want to hurt her feelings and tell her that her son is causing me some stress, dang it. And sometimes I wish that he was not staying with us, but that would hurt her. And I would be going back to the vows I made for her. I don't know. Maybe I should have told her the truth because last night we fought. She feels that I've been too distant and that I'm hiding something from her, and I just told her that I wasn't hiding anything from her and that she was the only one for me. She then asked me why my first thought had been to cheat, and I said that she had been implying it all week by not saying it, so I had to clear it up for her so that she would not have to ask. I told her that lately I've been stressed at work and we have a mega client that we have just signed, so after work some of the guys go grab a few beers, some broskies with the brews, and continue working at her boss's house. She then asked me if I was avoiding her because she was gaining weight, and I asked what she was talking about because I've not even noticed it. Of course I didn't say the right thing because now she was on my case about how I did not seem to notice anything about her lately. So then I had to blurt it out and tell her that I was avoiding her son. I felt it was better to avoid him than allow him to provoke me every time I walked through the door, so she burst into tears saying that it was her fault. She felt so bad because I was so good to them, and she was scared that I would leave them because of him. I told her that I would not, but right now I just need some space. She then said that she has been thinking about enrolling him in therapy. She knew that we did not want to dip into our savings, so she decided to pay for it herself. Well, I do feel bad about making her cry and feel like a burden, but I don't know what to do at this point. If Pete is set out to destroy my relationship, then you know what? He sure is succeeding. Update number 1. It happened. I reached my breaking point with this boy. 2 weeks after his mom and I decided that he should start therapy, I absolutely lost it. You see, I know that he has only been in therapy for a couple of days, and it, takes results, but gosh golly, I wish that it would speed up. Also, it looks like we're going to have to add more sessions because he now has added trauma thanks to the outburst. Yep. Last night, my sister had a baby shower and she invited all of us. Pete did not want to go, but we were not going to leave him alone at the house knowing how he could be. So, we forced him to come to shower with us. We only planned, to stay for a little while, then leave. We left way earlier than we were supposed to because of him and his bad manners, and he started with my younger cousin, whom he tested for not having the latest iPad. You see, he's 10 years old. So why does that matter? The child ended up inconsolable. And I was apologizing for 10 minutes straight to his mom? I was already tired of regretting bringing Pete here, and I should have just gotten him a babysitter and left him at home. Oh, but he was not done. He had more in store for us. Tell me why he felt like he had the right to comment on my sister's looks. My sister has always been considered very good-looking. However, due to pregnancy, her face has started to change. She was complaining to my wife about how she did not feel so beautiful these days, and he decided to chime in and say that she used to look like a princess, but now she looked like Shrek. I was shocked and unable to move when he uttered those words, and then he made my sister sad. Who makes a pregnant woman sad? A bully does. My sister just turned around and left, and she did not leave her room for a while and even attempted, maid did not help. Her husband explained that she was extra sensitive these days because the baby was so close, and I just told him that I was sorry and that I would talk to Pete. Guys, I was boiling with anger inside, and I could not stay in the shower any longer, so I just told my wife that I just wanted to go home. When we were in the car, I asked him why would he do that, and he said that he was just being honest and asked what the big deal was. Well, I told him that he was going to apologize to my sister the next day. He said that I was not his father and could not tell him what to do. I then told him if he did what he did in his dad's presence, his dad could not even care because he would not want him anyways. My wife tried to tug me so that I would keep quiet, but I was mad. I laid into him on how his father was being forced by the court to see him and pay the child support. His dad had told his mom many times that he wanted nothing to do with Pete. He said that I was lying and was jealous of his perfect father. I told him that he was just lucky that his mom and I had put up with his brattiness. If we did not, then he would be out on the streets because his dad saw him as a burden. He shut up soon after I said that and did not say anything else for the rest of the ride. When we got home, he tried to run upstairs, but his mother told him to stop. She told him to give her his phone and electronics, and he was grounded for the next few months. If he wanted to use any of his gadgets, he had to ask us. It had to be before 9 p.m. because after that time, we would take every single gadget that he owned that connected to the internet. He then asked how he was supposed to do his homework and even entertain himself, and she then told him that he better get everything done in time. As for the entertainment, he could try reading a book. The look on his face was priceless. He actually believed that he was going to get away with what he had done. Once me and Belinda were alone, I did have to take a moment to apologize for my outburst. She said that while she was shocked, she didn't blame me. I had been patient for longer than she expected, and she said that she was serious about cracking down on him. We were the only parents that cared about him, and we needed to make sure he acted right. Update number 2. It's been nearly 3 weeks since the outburst, and my wife and I went to apologize to my sister the very next day. She said that she did not hold a grudge. She had just been very emotional that day. We gave her a gift and told her that, well, he bought it for her to say sorry. Well, technically, we did it with his pocket money. He had a choice between apologizing in person and having us use his pocket money to buy her a gift, and he just gave me the silent treatment when I asked him, which clearly meant that he could not apologize in person. Once I apologized to my sister, I focused on the task at hand. I looked at the facts. This boy idolized his no-good father and saw me as, well, the enemy. He had absolutely no respect for his mother and blamed her for everything, and we were trying to love him, but he could not see that. It was clear that he needed to be taught a little lesson. About a week later, I came up with the best way to teach him a lesson, and he had his phone in the afternoon. So I wanted to remind him that he had his homework to finish before we took away his phone. As I was about to knock on his bedroom door, I noticed that he was talking to somebody on his cell phone. As I was about to knock, I heard something interesting. He was telling his friends that his dad promised to take him to Japan when he turned 18. I know that he's a huge anime fan, so it would make sense for him to choose Japan as his dream destination. He said that he hoped nothing big would come at his dad's workplace because he really wanted to go to Japan. He then went on to brag to his friends about how his dad was loaded and would do anything for him. And I knew, as he said those words, that there was no Japan. We had to fight the man to stay with Pete for a weekend, so why would he take him to Japan? Come on. He had made yet another empty promise to poor Pete. Later on, I went and talked to my wife, and I told her that we have been working hard for years now and have never taken a proper family trip. The last time we were out of the country was on our honeymoon, and how did she feel about going to Japan? I would foot the whole bill. I then told her how Japan was part of my plan to finally get through to Pete, and she loved my idea and agreed to break the news to him. Well, she did, and he was absolutely ecstatic, guys. He didn't thank me. I knew he would not because he thought his mom was the one paying for everything. Ugh. Well, all he seemed to want to talk about was how he was going to Japan in 6 months. That would align with his longest school holiday and the week he turned 16. This is going to be perfect, and I cannot wait to execute my plan. Update number 3. It's now 7 months later, which means the time for our trip to Japan already arrived. I'm going to tell you how everything's going a little bit. I just needed to address some comments first. One of you said that you commented my patience with the boy and could not believe that I was rewarding him to a trip to Japan. Trust me, this is no reward. Someone else said that I should have never married someone with a kid who was grown because the chances of him even accepting me are very low, but you know what? I disagree. Age doesn't matter, it's just a case of how disciplined the child is. Trust me, at the end of this trip he's going to have a very different attitude about everything. Before we headed to the airport, I did announce that we had one more stop to make. Pete was annoyed and said that we were going to be late and he was unable to sit due to the excitement. I told him that he should be patient, it was a big surprise. I drove it for a little bit until I got to our destination, and then I left the car and made my way to the boot, where I started to offload his luggage. My wife then went to knock on her ex's door. Meanwhile, Pete was sitting in the car, confused and unsure about exactly what's going on. Once the door swung open and her ex's helper told us that Pete's room was ready, I started to bring his stuff into the house. My wife then opened the door for him and told him to get out of the car. Well, he starts to refuse to get out, saying that this was not the airport, that he wants to go to Japan. She told him that Japan was for young boys who respected other people, and she also asked him why he would want to go on a trip that I paid for when he hardly spoke to me. He said that there was no way that the cheapskate paid for it, and I told him that I paid for everything, and that there's no room for him on that plane. I told him that since he loved his father so much and said that I was a loser compared to him, he should ask his father to take him. He threw a massive tantrum, guys, calling us names for giving him excited for absolutely no reason. His mom told him that he was making us late and he needed to go see his father. At that moment, his dad came downstairs and asked what the commotion was about, and my wife just smiled and said that we had brought his son to stay with him for the next 2 weeks and we were off to Japan. When he saw his father, he made a face at me and said that he was going to have more fun with his dad than us anywho. And he got out of the car. My wife and I did not say another word. We just got back into the car and drove off to the airport. Guys, we landed in Tokyo several hours later, and I must say, this is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. You best believe we're taking lots of pictures and posting them so that they can see how much fun we're having. Was what I did a little bit petty? Yes, but it feels so good to get back at him after he has put me through hell. But the most important thing is that I'm doing this for our own good. He needs to learn the kind of man that his father is. Maybe disappointment will heal much better when he has a child, when he's an adult. I know for a fact that, before we come back, he's going to be regretting how he treated us. He's going to see that his mother and I were the ones who truly loved him, and we had the best intentions at heart for him. Anyways, wish me luck in Japan. Update number 4. It took him just a few days to decide that he did not want to stay with his dad anymore. Usually he sees his father for a couple of hours and then he's gone. He has never stayed with him for more than 24 hours, guys. Well, my wife got a call from her parents on the 4th day telling her that her son had run away from his dad's house. But they had no idea where he went, so as you can imagine, we were all worried and my wife wanted to go back home, but soon we heard back from him. They said that he had come to tell them that he didn't want to live with his dad anymore. He begged his mom to come back and not let him go back there ever again. Clearly something happened that made him not want to go back there, am I right? Well, I called Dave to ask him about it, and Dave was dismissive at first and said that he did not care where the boy was. He was a nuisance, and we should have taken him with us to Japan. Dad said that at least now the boy knew that he was not wanted and he did not have to pretend anymore. Well, guys, I was absolutely horrified and asked him what he did to his son. Did he not have mercy for his own blood? Well, he laughed and said that he could make more sons who were not so dramatic and absolutely emotionally weak. He said that it was my and my wife's fault for forcing a relationship between them and we had absolutely no interest. I said that we could have gladly taken full custody of Pete a long time ago. But Pete loved his dad too much. We could not hurt him, so we let him believe his father was good at the cost of him hating me. Dave told me to never call him again, and he also said that he was going to send Pete's things to my wife's parents because he didn't want Pete there again. As I hung up the phone, my wife came to talk to me and told me how bad it was. Dave had apparently broken Pete's phone. Well, I asked why he did it, and apparently it's because Pete was rude to one of his fiancées, and, well, it did not end well for him. Pete then realized that what we told him was true, and that his dad just viewed him as a straight-up nuisance. I was sure that Dave did all of it on purpose because he saw the perfect chance to get out of his fatherly responsibilities. So, we're going to stay here for a couple more days. And then when we get back home, currently there's no good flights to return today. There appears to be a surge of travel, and the best we can do is wait till the end of the week. But let me ask you this, what would you do? Alright guys, today's story was a little wild, but I do have a question for you. A lot of the commenters were mentioning over and over how they do not agree with the Japan trip, and basically they held it over his head to take it away. It wasn't a good punishment, and it's going to make it worse. I do want to hear your thoughts on that. Do you guys agree that taking away the trip, the dream trip of a lifetime from the stepkid, it's not going to make him like you anymore? No, it's going to do quite the opposite. That's what the argument was. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. As always, thank you for joining me on today's stories. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day, and if you want to be a part of these stories, consider subscribing. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, and of course remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.